Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and in today's video I kind of want to have a bit of a chit chat. Sometimes I like to do these and I find them really fun because I just need to talk on the camera. And so in today's video I really want to give a bit of an update since actually quitting my job and taking a career break. So if you are completely new to my channel, then you might not know that 6 months ago I actually quit my job, and I do have a video where I talk about the reasons behind it and why I essentially did that. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. I will link it up here for you and in the description below. But in today's video, I kind of want to give an update, 6 months after, how I'm feeling, what are my next steps, and yeah, all of that stuff. So I'm excited to go through it and share some key learnings, because there are many learnings, I will tell you. Yeah, let's have a chat. So I wanted to give a quick update if you maybe don't remember why I quit my job, and if you maybe haven't watched that video yet, but make sure you do watch it because it's very detailed. But one of the biggest reasons why I decided to quit my job was honestly because I felt like I needed a break. I had quite a lot of big changes going on last year. So I ended up moving, I got married, I was also doing YouTube, and then I also launched my coaching business whilst working my 9 to 5, and my 9 to 5 I was getting a bit more responsibility as well. So there was a lot going on and I kind of felt almost to the brink of being burnt out. And so I decided that I really want to just take some time out for myself, and that's what I did. And I know some of you guys have asked me, how comes I didn't just take a sabbatical with my work, because a sabbatical means that you can come back to your place of work and still take that career break. The truth is, originally I did ask to take a sabbatical, but my work said no, and basically said I would have to quit my job, and then if there's a vacancy available, then I could just apply to that and then obviously go back to work. And so that's exactly what I did. I decided to quit. Okay, so my first key lesson since quitting my job is the fact that money can have a bigger impact on your mindset more than you think. So in my case, I was in quite a blessed position in that when it came to our personal finances with myself and my husband, essentially what we were already doing is pretty much just saving and investing the majority of my income, and then we were basically living on his income, but we had joined it all together. And so a big reason why I decided to quit my job was because I knew that even if I wasn't working, we would still be able to pay our bills and everything would be fine. However, what I didn't really take into account was just my thoughts around not having a consistent paycheck. So not actually having a paycheck coming in. And so I would definitely say, despite the fact that pretty much our bills were paid every single month, I still had a lot of mind drama because I didn't have this consistent paycheck. And I think we're very conditioned to think that we should be having money every single week or every single month. And so to not physically see that was definitely hard for me. I think even the fact that we still had quite a lot of savings, because we were saving to invest that money, and we thought, worst case scenario, if Yinka basically loses his job, we already have like a year's worth of savings, so we're all okay. Even us having that, I still had mind drama, okay? So I was still a bit worried, thinking, oh, this is really weird, like we can't save and invest because obviously I'm not currently working. And when it came to things like my business, I was already investing stuff in my business, and I'll talk more about that later on in the video. But because I didn't have a paycheck, it just felt really strange for me to see that I'm not really contributing anything, and we're not obviously saving and investing as much. And so I think one of the learnings is really just thinking about, even if you do take some type of career break, you may still have mind drama when it comes to money. And so it's really important to kind of walk through those thoughts. And for me, I had to get a lot of coaching on that because I was definitely struggling. Like I was to the point where I was thinking that maybe I should just get a job because I felt like I just needed that consistent paycheck for no other reason. I just felt like I wanted to be comfortable having a consistent paycheck, and so I just wanted to go back into work. And this was probably a couple of months after I quit my job. And so for me, I think as time went on, I did get used to the idea of not having that paycheck and really just enjoying my time and enjoying the career break. But I would definitely say that after the first month, I did not feel comfortable at all. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, I'm sure it's free. Okay, so the next lesson that I learned whilst quitting my job was the idea of thinking about planning for lifestyle expenses if you do take a career break and not just essential bills. And so this was a really interesting one because, as I mentioned, once I quit my job, I was like, oh, well, you know, I do obviously have my side hustle. That's something that I have started to grow. And so if anything, like if I want to do anything, I could just use that money to basically live off and do whatever I want during this break, right? Whereas I hadn't necessarily taken into consideration the fact that I had already planned to invest most of my business income. So if I ever made money from YouTube or my budget templates or even coaching, what I had already been doing whilst I was working my 9-to-5 is just reinvesting that back into business expenses or investing that into coaching or anything like that. And that's what I continue to do whilst I was on my career break. But then what I realized is that during my career break, I think a couple of months in, I was like, oh, do you know what? Whilst I'm on this break, I would love to go traveling. Like I would love to do this sort of stuff. And I think I even did like an Instagram live talking through my thoughts, realizing that I hadn't necessarily planned for that before I quit my job. And so all my money was tied up in my business, meaning I couldn't use that. And obviously I wasn't working in a job. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, where's the money going to come from? And so then I was like, oh, that means I potentially can't go traveling because of the fact that I hadn't necessarily planned for that in advance. And so it was really interesting because before I quit my job, I would be looking up YouTube videos and seeing what people would be saying. But what they were basically saying is obviously you want to have savings for your essential bills, but they didn't necessarily talk about any other lifestyle expenses. So things that you might want to do that aren't discretionary, that aren't essential. People didn't really talk about that. And so I think if you are planning to take some type of career break, really think about what you actually want to do in that career break and set aside money for that as well. So if you decide that you may want to go traveling during that time, make sure you actually save money whilst you are in your job so that you have enough money to then use that to go traveling. Because what I found is that I wasn't able to go traveling during that time because I hadn't necessarily planned for it in advance. And so yes, of course, if you are planning to take a career break, make sure that you have enough money for your essential bills, especially if you are single and you can't depend on like a partner's income, for example. But also I would make sure that you have money set aside for any lifestyle expenses you may want to do during that career break, because if not, you may feel a little bit upset if you find that you don't have enough money to fund that lifestyle essentially. Okay, so the next key lesson I want to talk about since quitting my job is that there will be two extremes where you are either really productive or you just absolutely do nothing. And so what I mean by this is obviously before I quit my job, I had to wake up early in the morning because I was side hustling. So I might be filming videos, editing videos, then I would have my 9-to-5 job. And then in the evening, I might be coaching. And so I was doing all of these things at the same time. And so when I quit my job, I still felt like I should be in that kind of hustler mentality. And I think I explained that in another video where I was talking about, you know, how it's been since I quit my job, I think a month in. I was still basically hustling and trying to put in all these hours, which obviously didn't make sense because I took this career break for that exact reason. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up going to the other extreme where there were times where I would do absolutely nothing. And I'm talking like I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I used to join something called 5 a.m. Club. It's part of a membership that I'm a part of, Financial Joy Academy. I'll link them in the description below. But as soon as I went to that other extreme, I was basically waking up probably at like 9 or 10 o'clock, which for me is actually relatively late, especially because I'm such a morning person. Also, I used to try and go to the gym very often, or I would try to go to the gym in the morning before I start work. But then it got to the point where because I was waking up late, I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to go to the gym. And so I was less consistent even going to the gym. And so what I'm trying to say is you will probably experience both, where at the beginning you're really productive, but then you end up doing the complete opposite and basically doing nothing. And so I think once you go through that, you will then start to go back and find a bit of a medium. But I would definitely say I experienced both extremes within that time period. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. Okay, so my fourth lesson since quitting my job is the fact that it will be difficult to establish a routine. And so this kind of links into my previous lesson where you basically go through two different extremes extremes. But the one thing that I would encourage is, if you decide to take some form of career break, is honestly to just go with the flow and be free for a while. And I think this was quite difficult for me because I'm that type A personality kind of person. I always want to be, you know, on the go and doing something. But I think during this career break, one of the biggest lessons was for me to actually take a step back and learn to chill. Like, even during the pandemic, when I was furloughed, I didn't necessarily chill. I was still always trying to do something, even though I didn't have work. I even started a YouTube channel whilst I was furloughed, right? And so I wasn't used to actually just taking some time for myself and really just resting. And so I think a big tip would be to not feel guilty, especially if you have decided to take a break, and really make sure that you rest. Because if not, if you're still doing all of these things during your career break, when you now go back to work, or when you go back to doing what you want to do, you'll end up feeling like you never really rested in the first place, and then you may end up going into burnout. And so one of the biggest tips I can give is honestly just enjoy the moment, even if you don't have a routine. So the next lesson that I want to talk about is the fact that you may find that you have a mini midlife crisis trying to figure out what you truly want to do. Guys, this was a big one. And I think when you have the chance to really gather your thoughts because you aren't doing anything, and because you have so much time, you then start to think about your future, or you start to think about your life and what you actually truly want. And so I felt like I went through almost a mini midlife crisis, and I think I spoke about this a lot on my Instagram, because I then got to the point where I was thinking, okay, it's now been 6 months, I need to think about, what do I actually want to do? Like, what route do I want to go through? Do I still want to work in human resources, for example, and work in the diversity and inclusion space? Do I really want to coach more often? I was kind of at two places, and I actually really shut down because I had no idea what I was doing. I was really trying to talk to God as well, because most of you will know that I am a Christian, and kind of just asking for his direction because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I still don't 100% know what I want to do, but you know, I'm going to trust God because I know he'll sort me out. But you may find that you will go through some type of crisis, which can obviously have an impact on your mood. And for me, I kind of almost shut down. I shut down from social media. I was not in the best place for a couple of days, had to obviously try and do some serious prayer, but I managed to get out of that. And there were certain things that I went to in terms of other events that I went to where I realized actually there was a particular route that I want to go to. And so I'm very thankful that I took the time to take this break, because it really made me go through my own mindset. And again, I think because I was able to get some coaching from that as well, it really helped me to just kind of start to unwind some of that. And I think if I didn't take this break, I still would have just been hustling and just not thinking about it. And so I was actually very thankful that I was able to take this career break, because now I know what I need to work on, and now I also know kind of the direction that I think God is trying to take me to. So for me, it was definitely difficult and it was hard. I'm not going to say that, you know, when you take a career break it's all rosy and it's amazing, but I think there were some important lessons that I needed to learn, and I may not have learned it as quickly had I not taken this career break. Okay, so the 6th key lesson that I learned whilst quitting my job is the fact that you will learn to appreciate time and your life so much more. Guys, honestly, if you can take a career break, I will 100% recommend it, because I felt like I could just appreciate time so much, and having that flexibility was amazing. And that made me want financial independence even more, because I got to just spend time, you know, taking my time, having an amazing morning routine when I actually would do my morning routine, and I would feel great, and I would be able to spend so much time with my husband, especially because he had quite a flexible job, and so he was home a lot more often, so it meant that I got to spend a lot more time with him. Whereas compared to before, because I was doing so much stuff, I didn't necessarily feel like we had a lot of bonding time together. So to be able to take this break, it meant that I had so much more time to just chill with him. We'd be able to go on walks at random times in the afternoon, and it was just great. And so I would definitely say that I will not take time for granted at all, and if there's anything that I can do to have time like that in the future, then I'm definitely going to work towards it. And I think that's a big reason why I really want to strive for things like financial independence, because it means that you're able to then have that time to really spend with your family. You may decide to go traveling or really just do what you want. And so I think for me, that's probably one of the biggest learnings. I I appreciated it so much. It also gave me the chance to grow spiritually and mentally, and so I'm really blessed and thankful that I have been able to do it, and I would 100% recommend anyone to do this, because for me it's just been an absolute game changer. So I wanted to have a quick talk in terms of my life update and basically what I'm going to be doing going forwards. So I actually am going to be going back to work. So I have decided to go back to work, but I think in terms of the work that I'm looking for, it's an interesting one in that the direction I feel like I'm going through is that I'm not necessarily looking for more responsibility when it comes to my career. I kind of just want to work in HR and kind of do my job, but I want to focus more on coaching and being a content creator and doing YouTube videos and Instagram and all of that stuff. And so I think that's one lesson that I've been able to take from this career break. I now kind of have an idea in terms of what I want to do. One of the biggest reasons why I've decided to actually start going back to work now is also because our life goals have changed. We have decided that we would like to buy a place next year, and this wasn't necessarily on the cards. We hadn't planned that, hadn't even been put on our goals or anything for this year, but because some of our life goals have changed, that has now had an impact on our financial goals. And I always say that some of your goals will change, and that's okay. You just need to learn how to adapt, and so this is how we're adapting. And so because we are hoping to buy somewhere next year, obviously it's a lot easier if you are employed, because then that can have an impact on your affordability checks and how easy it is for a lender to give you a mortgage. Plus, we're also saving up for a holiday as well, because I really did want to travel to at least one country, especially because I haven't left the country for about 4 years. And so as you can probably tell, I am very, very excited. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next few months. And so yeah, that's the plan. I mean, in terms of work, I do want to ease into it. So at the moment, I'm just kind of doing like temporary contract work during the summer. And then what I need to do is just decide after the summer whether I want to look for a permanent job, or if I'm still okay with doing like contract work and still being able to get a mortgage. So I need to kind of figure out and, you know, talk to a mortgage advisor and things like that just to make sure. But yeah, I'm quite excited with our next chapter. Of course, I will be doing videos in terms of our house buying process and what we're planning to do, and hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit of a vlog with that. There's been a lot of lessons since quitting my job. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. If you can take a career break, I would 100% recommend it. Obviously, just make sure that your finances are in order before you take that. But yeah, I've absolutely loved the time out, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up doing it again in the future too. Now, if you've always wanted to take a career break, or you've always wanted to buy a house but you've never been able to save up enough to do any of that, then definitely check out my one-on-one coaching, because it's basically designed to help you save more money, and we've been able to do that. We're still on track to buying a place next year despite me taking 6 months out. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. You can book a free interest call with me, so I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts around career breaks? Have you taken one before? Would you like to take one? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.